Hello, welcome to the show. That's the story. I am Ronnie, and this week we have some stories. This week we have some songs, we have some ways for you to win, and we have a little bit of silliness in a cartoon in the form of Norbert and Milo. But first of all, let's meet a man called Mr. Shoemaker.
It wasn't because Mr. Shoemaker was wearing an odd pair of socks that morning that made the whole township gather around him as he went to work. Oh no, Mr. Shoemaker was prone to wearing the odd sock here and there, and the fact that one was bright green and the other a blue and white stripe made the odd pair of socks quite striking, almost bearable, completely wearable and completely conceivable that one would wear such a pair on purpose. Crikey, no, it wasn't the odd socks that Mr. Shoemaker was wearing that made the entire population of Dunsandel gather round him this morning to watch him at work. The fact that Mr. Shoemaker was wearing a frilly, rather flowery frock on this particular Friday wasn't the reason the townsfolk had gathered either. Although it must be said that Mr. Shoemaker was a rather fetching sight in this frilly, rather flowery frock on this frosty Friday morning, and his wife Frida hid behind the curtains in the lounge of their house, watching the proceedings through the window. Since her husband, Mr. Shoemaker, was wearing Frida's frilly, rather flowery frock this frosty morning, Frida had nothing to wear, and thought it a tad untasteful to join the rest of the townsfolk wearing nothing but a smile. So, there you are. The welding goggles Mr. Shoemaker was wearing didn't cause the crowd too much kerfuffle. The flippers he wore over the odd socks weren't that worrying to the crowd either. The skateboarding shin pads Mr. Shoemaker wore over his shins surely weren't the reason for this gathering of gawping neighbours, and the big straw hat he was wearing was perfectly normal for this kind of morning. No, the reason the entire population of Dunsandel was out of a morning witnessing Mr. Shoemaker's business was this. He was chopping down a tree. Nothing unusual. But since the tree had been chopped down hours since, people were curious as to why Mr. Shoemaker continued to chop and chisel, saw and cut and whittle away, chips of wood flying in all directions. It got to the point that all you could see was flying debris, chips of chopped wood flying in all directions. The crowd oohed and ahed. And then, as suddenly as it had been started, it stopped, and the crowd waited and waited, wondered and pondered, and slowly, the dust began to settle. The wood chips floated to the ground, and there stood Mr. Shoemaker, holding a single, solitary, perfectly chiselled toothpick. At last, he said to himself, and with that, proceeded to pick the piece of bacon from out of the gap between his two front teeth. Now, as to why Mr. Shoemaker was wearing a pair of odd socks, one bright green and one blue and white striped, a frilly, rather flowery frock, welding goggles, flippers and skateboarding shin pads, well, why the devil not? It was Friday after all.
Mr. Shoemaker, what an interesting chap he was. Now it's time to play a little bit of a game. It's called Who Am I? I'm about to give you some clues, and it's describing someone quite famous, reasonably contemporary. Give you a clue. They're a singer. From these clues, you have to try and guess who it is that I'm talking about. Here come those clues.
What's his name? What's she called? I think I know who that is. Who could it be? Let's wait and see what the clues are to this quiz.
This woman's real name is Catherine Elizabeth Hudson. She was born on October the 25th, 1984 in Santa Barbara, California. She has an older sister, Angela, and a younger brother, Dan. Both of her parents are pastors. She sang in her parents' church from the age of 9 to 17 and grew up listening to gospel music. In fact, her mother didn't allow her to listen to anything else. She released a gospel music album while she was still in high school. She studied Italian opera singing for a short time. She has written songs for Selena Gomez, Ashley Tisdale and Kelly Clarkson. Her first album, One of the Boys, featured the hit singles I Kissed a Girl and Hot and Cold. I Kissed a Girl earned her a nomination for Best Female Pop Vocalist at the Grammys in 2009. In 2010, she appeared as a guest judge alongside Simon Cowell in The X Factor.
What's his name? What's she called? I think I know who that is.
Alrighty, if you think you know who that is, head along to our website, that'sthestory.co.nz. Click on Contact Us and send me your answer from there. First correct answer will win a couple of books for your classroom. Now, Norbert and Milo. Let's see what they're up to.
Norbert and Milo's Knock Knock.
Norbert, hello Milo. I've got another knock-knock joke for you. Let's hear it then. Knock knock, Norbert. Who's there? Theodore. Theodore who? Theodore wasn't open, so I knocked. Oh.
G'day, I'm Ronnie. That's the story, and it's time for a bit of a beauty contest. I didn't think they had those anymore.
It's a little known fact that camels are very competitive about everything. They're competitive about racing, always wanting to know who can run the fastest. They're competitive about eating, always trying to see who can eat the most. They're competitive about drinking. They regularly compete to see who can go the longest time without a drink of water. Well, it is what they're renowned for. But it is a lesser known fact that camels are also very competitive about beauty. Well, if you had the reputation for the longest eyelashes in the animal kingdom, then you'd probably be interested in beauty contests too. There was a scandal a couple of years back when one of the competitors was found to have been wearing false eyelashes. She was disqualified and had to give her sash back. So beauty pageants are a big deal in the camel world, especially amongst the dromedaries. And the most highly contested segment of a camel beauty contest is the talent section. Well, it's not like you're going to see a camel in a swimsuit. That would be silly. Camille was a regular at camel beauty pageants. She had dreams of one day being a movie star, maybe one of those spectacular sweeping period dramas set in ancient times and in Arabian wonderland. She fantasised about getting all dressed up in jewels and other finery and being pampered and preened and filmed and photographed from every angle. Camille's talent was playing the trombone. She was very musical and sometimes even wrote her own compositions. She'd been playing since she was just a heifer. It is very hard to play the trombone, but luckily Camille's luscious lips, which helped in the beauty judging, also made it easy for her to play the trombone. It was the night of the biggest camel pageant in all of Saudi Arabia. Camels had come by train from across the country. Camille was very nervous. The competition was very close. All the camels were strikingly attractive, and everyone knew the talent section would decide the competition. Camille was the last camel to perform. Her lips were a little dry because of the nerves, but she took a couple of deep breaths and started to play. The audience were transfixed, the judges were dumbfounded, the other competitors were stunned. The sound that came out of Camille's trombone was beautiful and melodic and mellifluous. When she finished playing, the audience broke into rapturous applause. The rest of the judging was a mere formality. After that performance, everyone knew that Camille was guaranteed first place. Camille proved to everyone that night that her beauty was more than skin deep.
G'day, I'm Ronnie. That's the story. And if you would like me to do a bit of a shout out to you and your mates, all you have to do is head for our website, that'sthestory.co.nz. Click on Contact Us and send me your message there. I will give you a shout out on one of our upcoming shows.
Ah, what is it? Ew! It's big and red. Mum! What is it? I scream at her from the other end of the house, running to her. Oh, Mel, sweetie, it's just a pimple. She says like it's not a big deal. This is just what I need. Lost my shoe, dog ate the other one, can't find my school bag, must have left it at Sam's. Sam's my best mate. We do everything together. Oh my gosh, the socials tonight. I can't go like this. Dad! Dad! I scream. Yes, honey. Puffing as he'd just come running from the other end of the house thinking I was in danger or something. You have to write me a note to get me off school. I'm sorry, hun, I can't. What do you mean you can't? Look at this! I cried, pointing at the big red thing on my forehead. Oh, hun, it's just a pimple. Why does everybody keep saying that? Dad, you get the door. I can't answer it. I cannot answer it like this. Mel, it's your friend Samantha! Dad yells. I'm not here, Dad! I scream from my bedroom. Just go into a room, Samantha, I hear Dad saying, trying to annoy me. Sam starts talking. I wasn't listening till I hear her say, "Oh, my gosh, Mal, what is it?" "What do you think it is?" I reply in a snotty attitude. "Well, I guess it's just a pimple," Sam says calmly as if the big dance wasn't on tonight. "Everybody keeps saying that!" I scream. "Sorry," I whispered. "What do you think I should do, Sam?" Sam started to look at me funny. "Well, I don't know. Your mum's gone. We've got school in an hour. Your dad leaves in 5 minutes." Saying that as she gives me that look that she gets when she thinks she's got a bright idea. Oh no, I'm not getting into this. Sam's ideas always end up bad. "Come on, just one little thing. Just one. Pretty, please," Sam begs in her little puppy dog face. "Okay, just one little bit of makeup." She rustles around for about half an hour, then hands me the mirror. "Oh my gosh, what did you do? I look like a clown with this makeup. It's all gone wrong." "Sorry, I'm so sorry," Sam pleads. "My life is over. Oh no." Wake up! Sam says, screaming at me. Oh my gosh, what happened?" "You fell asleep. We're on the way to the social, remember?" Oh, I reply. I had the worst dream. I had a... "Oh my gosh, what's that on your forehead?" Sam interrupts. I look in the rear view mirror. "Oh no!"
Hello there, I'm Ronnie. Welcome to That's the Story. Now, the word bee is an interesting word. Bee. How many ways can you use the word bee?
Once upon a time, there was a very special hive of bees. Other beehives had a strict order that was adhered to generation after generation. You had the queen bee, who ruled over the hive and gave birth to all the baby bees. You had the worker bees, who looked after the hive, and then you had the army bees, whose job it was to protect the hive from impending danger. Most beehives were organised this way, but the beehive up in the tree at the back of old Mr. Riwi's section was strangely, somehow, different. For a start, there was no queen bee. However, there were lots of wannabes who preened and pranced about, sporting tiny bee crowns and showing off their assets. The wannabes thought that if you acted like a queen, then you would simply become a queen, and they sneered at the other bees with contempt. The two bees spent their days philosophizing. They liked to ponder the whys and wherefores, and they took great pleasure in arguing with their cousins, the not-to-bees, who, no matter what, would advocate the exact opposite of what the two bees would propose. The two bees and the not-to-bees stuck to themselves and didn't mingle with the rest of the hive, and they were particularly intolerant of the wannabes. As well as the wannabes, the two bees and the not-to-bees, there were the can bees and the can't bees. The can bees could do anything and were renowned for their prowess. They were a strong, proud breed of bee, fearless in every respect. The can't bees, however, just lay about, feeling very sorry for themselves indeed. However, they weren't as bitter as the should bees, who seemed to think that the rest of the hive owed them something and spent their days complaining about how different they believed things should have been. While the should bees were bitter and twisted, the could bees were nothing if not positive. They believed that they could do anything and were always trying to improve. The could bees were forever competing and trying to be the very best bees that they could be. Enviously eyeing the could bees were the might bees. They thought the same way as the could bees, but lacked that inner confidence and drive. The might bees had great ideas, but failed to follow them through, and thus many of them turned into can't bees or should bees. But every now and then, a might bee would break through and evolve into a can bee, and then they could do anything that they desired. The hive at the back of old Mr. Riwi's section was a complex hive indeed. As well as the wannabes, the two bees and the not-to-bees, the can bees and the can't bees, the should bees, the could bees and the might bees, there were also the will bees and the won't bees. Whereas the should bees, could bees and might bees could change and evolve, even becoming can bees while avoiding being wannabes, The will bees and the won't bees knew exactly what their roles were. They didn't spend their days arguing like the to bees and the not to bees. They knew what lay in store for them. The will bees knew in their heart of hearts that life in the hive would be better. This made them happy. The won't bees were adamant that things would stay the same, and this made them happy too. The won't bees got on rather well with the can't bees, and the will bees were a constant source of inspiration for the might bees and the could bees. But none of the bees in the hive, up the tree at the back of old Mr. Iwi's section, liked the wannabes. And perhaps that's just the way it ought to be.
G'day, I'm Ronnie. That's the story, and that's my lot for another week. Thanks ever so much for listening. I really do appreciate your company. Have a great week. Catch you again next week. Ka kite anō.
I wanna hear the one about the big old plum tree. I wanna hear the one about the giggly bumblebee. I wanna hear